Hello everyone, before getting started I want to say I am trying something new. I am going to try to make my full English reviews and uploading them only to Twitter, and in YouTube I'll have only my Spanish versions. Let me know what you guys think, since it's been like highly requested by some people and actually recommended by other creators for me to actually make content in English. And since I don't really have a problem doing it, I just wanted to have my YouTube channel as full Spanish, or actually like mainly Spanish channel. I came up with the idea of uploading just my full English reviews on Twitter. So again, let me know what you guys think. So let's get started. This is going to be my full review of the Aero mousepad by 4114, made by Seize, Japple, and Elevate. They did send this out for review. However, that does not change my opinion. All mine and all my thoughts and criticism comes from an honest point of view as a consumer and as a reviewer. So please have that in mind. And today we're looking at the Fragment version, which is the Roman head design. They also have a legacy version, which is all black with a pattern, which makes it cool because it's just not all full black and boring. And shout out to them, since they are very passionate about everything they're doing. I really like what they're doing, and so far I think they're doing a great job. So as for my general thoughts, this really reminded me at first about the Infinity Mice Speed pad, which also has like this windbreaker kind of feel to it. And the Infinity Mice Speed, it wasn't as, like, it didn't have exactly the same feeling to it. I kind of remember it having it the same sound and stuff like that. I don't own it currently. I am getting the V2 version soon, but that's the first thing I thought of when I got this mousepad. They feel kind of similar, but they're at the same time very different, since the Infinity Mice Speed was speed focus, and this is also a speed focus but more on the hybrid side, which does have some stomping power to it. And I don't know if you guys saw my written review on Twitter. Like I said, and the Infinity Mice Speed pad, I did have some issues with the stopping power. This one, however, has a little bit more, and I really enjoy that, since I'm a tag FPS player and stopping power is also beneficial to me. But at the same time, this has a very middle to low dynamic friction and also a middle to low static friction. It's not extremely fast, but it's also not controlled. So it's fast enough to be considered as a speed pad, but not as slow to be considered a controlled pad either. Something beneficial about this pad is that I didn't tend to overflick like in other mouse pad, like the Artisan Hien, the Sky pad, the Infinity Mice Speed, like I said, or the Fnatic Jet. And again, the windbreaker feel is not my favorite, I'm not gonna lie, but once I was fully in the game, I didn't really notice the feeling. It is kind of noisy though, so if you share your room with someone, they might notice you. They might tell you to like shut up. As for you won't really hear with your headphones on. I was mainly using dot skates, and it still had that controlled feeling to it. So even with dot skates, you're not gonna have an issue with the stopping power to gaining that control with the microflicks and everything else. However, you want more control, you can still use PTFE pads. It'll still build pretty fast and you'll gain more control to it, which is also great. And normally I would actually use PTFE pads instead of dots, but I didn't really feel like I needed more control while using this pad, while using the dots, so I really stick to the dots. And about the softness, it's a soft version. I'd say a little bit tougher than the Saturn Pro, but you can still press down on it and add more control to it, which is great. So I'm actually going to get in straight up to the pros of this. I really like that it's a 4mm thick, because you can still like I said before, add up more control by pressing down on it, and like it's not very tough. Nothing near a mid softness like in the Artisan pad. Like I said, it's more on the soft side, a little bit tougher than the Saturn Pro in my opinion, but still works pretty great. And the size of the pad is actually 530 by 490 with a Poron base, which is pretty good. And because of that, I never really experienced any sliding or the pad moving around my desk. I'm not exactly sure whether this is Rogers Poron or Japanese Poron, but it is actually Poron, it's not PU. And it comes in then flat packaging, so it's just gonna lay down flat right out of the box. But really cool packaging. Like I said, it comes obviously flat package, so it just laid down extremely flat, no issues at all. And talking about a little bit more of the surface, the logo is actually stitched to the surface and not printed like other branders do. So if you happen to glide or slide around the corner, you're not going to experience any issue with it. So it doesn't really affect the consistency. And talking about that, I think it's pretty good overall across the whole mousepad, but in the corners, it remains consistent. So if you're someone that plays in the bottom corner, it's not something you'll have to worry about. And about the stitching, it's ever so slightly under surface. It is still like at a pretty surface level stitching, but never had an issue with it. It is pretty tight, it is pretty premium. You can still see though over here in this corner, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, where the stitching starts and ends. But other than that, nothing that really affects performance or looks ugly. And the coming up and down of the pad actually feels very nice and smooth, so not having an issue there either. So it's a speed control surface hybrid basically, which makes it very versatile and could fit most of the users since you can play pretty much every kind of game, whether it's a tech FPS, a tracking heavy game, or a target switching game. I really enjoy this pad for general use since I mostly change mousepad depending what game I play. So for example, in tech FPS games I'll always pull out my Saturn Pro, but in tracking heavy games and in target switching games I'll pull out the SkyPad or any other fast pad. But with this one you could pretty much keep the same mousepad for every game and even like general use. So I think that's a pretty good thing since it's a $50 mousepad plus shipping obviously, but I think the price is very competitive. So for all the premium features it offers that not many other brands offer for this price point. So I think being able to get a mousepad that you can use for every game, it's a pretty good thing. And I'm not trying to sound biased here, but I still think that for $50 it is a pretty good thing. And even comparing it to like an Artisan pad or Lethal Gaming Gear pad, this is going to be a little bit cheaper. Again, it's able to compete with those kind of pad. But as for me, I'm not the target audience for this mousepad, even though I do enjoy it a lot. I'll always pull out my Saturn Pro since all I want is pretty much control. The speed is very great on it. I do really enjoy it. So I would still probably pull it out every once in a while. But for people who are not really sure of what they want or just play a lot of variety games, I think this is a still pretty good option for you. Or if you just don't want to be switching around mousepads very often, then this is definitely for you. And as for the specs of this mousepad, like I said, it's going to be 530 millimeters by 490 and 4 millimeter thick with a pour-on base, and the surface is going to be twill polyester spandex. No fucking idea what that is. I just know that it feels like a windbreaker, and that's pretty much it. And the style, like I said, is also a hybrid and speed. And as for the bad things or the cons of this mousepad, I wasn't really able to find many things besides, the notable stitching right here that it looks kind of ugly, but doesn't really affect performance at all. This is a pre-production unit or a sample, however you want to call it. And I do have some inconsistency issues right here. As you can see, I'm only dragging the mousepad and it really sticks to this area. Also over here a little bit on the top. And I talked with the 4114 team, and we think this is due to a stamping process. They should not be out in the production units and the retail units. So I'm just noting this out as for my unit. And even though I'm still having this issue, in game it didn't really affect my performance, but because I'm a very static player. But if you're a tracking player, this might bother you a little bit. It's not very noticeable once you have your hand on top of it, but you can tell, especially with pads instead of dots. With dots, it's not nearly as noticeable, but with pads, it is very noticeable. You do feel all that inconsistency since it's very fast, and then over here you get all that slowness, especially if you're pressing down on it. But again, this should not be out in the production units. I'm just noticing it out since I am giving out my true experience about it. Also, we think this is only an issue about the fragment version, so probably you're less likely to have this issue with the legacy version, which is all the black with a pattern version, not this one with a Roman head. So if you still want to go for your safer option of not having this issue, I would recommend you to go for the legacy version and not for the fragment, even though I think the fragment is cooler. For my conclusion, I think overall it's a very solid pad. I would say it's in my pretty much top 10 mousepads of the year. It's pretty high up there, especially for being a new company. And for $50, getting all the premium features that you do, I think it's a very good option for most people out there. It does really compete with the market, and I think it's a very good option to pick up for pretty much every user, which I wouldn't be able to say with many other pads. But this one, I think for $50, getting what you do, it's a pretty good mouse pad. And again, I'm not trying to sound biased here. I'm just giving out my true and honest opinion as a consumer and a reviewer. But you can judge it yourself if you do end up picking this up. And I'll probably still upload my full Spanish version on YouTube. So if you guys want to support me there, I will be very thankful. And again, thanks to the 4114 team for sending this out for review. Very much appreciated. All the purchase links will be in the comment section. They're not affiliate links, and they do offer international shipping if I'm correct, but they're also working with other retailers, so it's not as expensive. So definitely check them out, and I'll end up this video here. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.